بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to start our series and lessons on defects of the tongue, Aafaat al-Lisaan. This is very, very important topic, and when you grow more in spirituality and knowledge, and when you listen to the experiences and instructions of ulama, you find that they very much emphasize on watching our speech, our words, controlling our tongue. It may look to some people very simple and easy, but indeed it's very, very difficult, and lots of good things or bad things can happen through our lisan or tongue. So therefore I decided to discuss and review together the section on Aafaat al-Lisaan from al-Mahajjah al-Baydaa. I don't know if you are familiar with this book. al-Mahajjah al-Baydaa fi Ihya Tahdhib al-Ihya is a book by Mullah Muhsin Faiz Kashani. Mullah Muhsin Faiz Kashani is one of our great scholars, and he was born in 1007 after Hijrah and died in 1091. So more than 300 years ago, 350 years ago, he passed away. He was a student of Mullah Sadra, Sheikh Bahai, and also Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, the father of Allama Muhammad Baqir Majlisi, who was himself a great scholar. He has many books on tafsir, on hadith. He has Tafsir al-Safi, which is very familiar to our scholars. He has a book called al-Wafi on hadith. So he found the book Ihya Ulum al-Din by Ghazali a very useful book. Ghazali, Abu Hamid Ghazali, is a very famous Sunni scholar who was Ash'ari. He has many books on akhlaq, aqaid, etc. One of his most important books is Ihya Ulum al-Din, which, if you want to translate, is revival of religious sciences. Revival of religious sciences, which is translated also into English. So Ghazali, and if you want to have some idea about his time, he was born in 450 after Hijrah and died in 505. According to Christian calendar, he was born in 1058 and died in 1111. So Mullah Muhsin Faiz Kashani found this book by Ghazali very good book, very useful. And he decided to remove some parts which may not be acceptable according to our theology, and added some hadith from Shia sources, summarized some versions. So he called it al-Mahajjah al-Baydaa fi Tahdhib al-Ihya. So this book is a modification of Ihya Ulum al-Din by Ghazali. Like Ihya Ulumuddin, it has 4 parts. One on ibadat, acts of worship. Second on aadat, habits. Third on muhlikat, those things that destroy us. And fourth, munjiyat, those things that can save us. So basically vicious traits of character and actions, and virtuous traits of character and action. So what we want to study in these inshallah sessions is the section in the part on muhlikat, about those things that can destroy, those things which are vicious. And it is called Kitab Aafaat al-Lisaan, the book on defects of lisan. Okay. In order to understand the significance of this topic, they tell us that our ability to speak is one of the greatest blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot imagine what could be human life and human civilization if we were not able to talk. This is why in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions as one of his blessings our ability to speak. Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran khalaqa al-insan allamahu al-bayan. Yeah, so Allah has taught us how to express ourselves, how to talk. It's very important. And one of the keys of success is to be able to communicate properly. Yeah, it's very important. Or for example, Allah says one of some of his signs, min ayatihi ikhtilafu alsinatikum wa alwanakum. Some of the signs of Allah can be seen in the fact that we have different languages and different colors. So not only we are able to speak, but we are able to create languages and use these languages to communicate and also feel more at home when you speak your mother tongue, etc. So it's a great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is something very extraordinary, very special, because you can use your tongue for the best things or the worst things, for ta'ah, obedience, or for disobedience. Iman is the most important thing that we can do as obedience. Yeah, the first thing that we should do to obey Allah is to believe. Or the opposite to that, if you reject, na'uzu billah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the worst thing. Both Iman and Kufr are expressed by what? By language. Yeah. When you want to become mu'min, you say your shahadatain. Of course, if someone is not able to speak, he can or she can be in heart mu'min, but the way for us to recognize who is mu'min is through language, through talk. And also kufr is through language. So this is the power of tongue. Another thing which is very special about tongue is that with your tongue you can deal with anything which exists, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala up to the lowest of creatures. We can talk about them with tongue. About things that exist, or even the things which are imaginary, we can talk. No organ in human beings, no senses in human beings has this ability to be so wide in reaching. Yeah, for example, with my eyes, there are many things that I cannot see. Yeah, with my ears, there are many things that I cannot hear. But with my tongue, I can talk about everything. Yeah, whether they exist or they don't exist. I can talk about truth. I can talk about falsehood. I can tell the truth, tell lies. Whatever is coming to your mind, you can talk about it. Therefore, they say, al-Lisaan rahibul Maidan. I don't know if you are familiar with Arabic. So, tongue is very wide in its Maidan, means in the field that they can, you can use your tongue. Imagine a very wide field for horses to move. So tongue has such unlimited Maidan or field for activity. And the only way to be saved is to control your tongue. And يقيد باللجام الشرع, with Sharia, with using Allah's instructions and rulings, we need to control, like a wild horse that you have to tame it. We need to tame our tongue. And we should not release our tongue unless we are sure that it is beneficial. It's better to be silent than saying something which is bad or something which is even neutral. Inshallah, we will talk about. Sometimes we say things which are bad, sometimes we say things which are useless. Maybe people think, okay, as long as it is not bad, it's okay. But when you say things which are even useless, they drain part of your energy. Of course, we need to communicate, we need to socialize. Sometimes through our words we can make people happy. These are all useful. I'm not talking about these things. Sometimes I just talk about something neutral, but my intention is to make that person feel happy. That's fine. But something that has no benefit at all, it's better not to say, and just move your tongue for something that you are trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, Ghazali and Mullah Muhsin Nafei say that it is very difficult to master all the techniques and details about how to use your tongue. For your eyes, it's easy to learn what is haram, what is halal for eyes, for ear. But for tongue, you need to know many things to realize when and how to use your tongue and speak. And also, they say tongue is أعظم آلة الشيطان في استغواء الإنسان, is the greatest instrument of shaitan in misguiding human beings. Shaitan uses human words and speech against themselves or other human beings. So this has to be very much watched. There's a story that once a king said to his chef that, the cook, from sheep, make me food with the best part of the sheep. So made the food with tongue. The next day said with the worst part of then again made with the tongue. He said, how can it be the best part and the worst part? He said, tongue is something that has potential for being the best part or the worst part. Inshallah, we will see in hadith that all our organs ask tongue, please be careful, because we are all somehow dependent on you. You can bring us blessings or you can bring us, shame. Be very careful. In this section of the book, there will be a discussion about virtue and merits of silence. Silence is very important in Islamic spirituality and also in other spiritualities, even in Christianity. Some religious orders have silence as one of their key points. And there is no spirituality without emphasis on silence. We will talk about merits of silence. Silence in the sense of not speaking. If there is, for example, a bird singing or, it's water, for example, dropping, that's not a problem. We mean by samt something different from sukut. Sukut can be, there is no sound at all. But here we are talking about not speaking, okay? So, merits of samt, silence. After that, we will discuss 20 defects of Lisaan. 20 Aafaat. Aafaat is singular and Aafaat is plural. 20 problems, 20 types of disease and illnesses that can happen to us just because of tongue or through tongue. And we have to be very careful. First, Aafaat. Al-kalam fi ma la ya'ni. To speak about something which doesn't relate to me, it's not relevant to me. Yeah, it's not my business. We are not saying to say something which is a lie. No, suppose it's true, it's correct, but it's not related to me, it's not beneficial for me. So this is one problem, and we will inshallah discuss this. The second is Aafaatu fudul al-kalam. To use words in excess. Yeah, to speak unnecessarily, even if something is relevant to you, but to prolong the discussion. If I want to buy something, I try to find minimum price. Yeah, maybe I buy something expensive, but even if I buy something expensive, I'm not happy to give more than the required expense. For example, I want a very good medicine, maybe it's expensive, but I'm not happy to give extra to what is the cost. Yeah, even if it's a £1 extra, I don't want to pay, because I want us to spend my money economically and efficiently. But when it comes to words, we are not careful. If we can say something in 5 words, sometimes we say in 20 words. If we can say something in 2 minutes, we say it in 10 minutes. And this is not good. You have to look at your words like the way at least you look at your money. At least you are using time, energy, and every word that you say, it's possible that is creating a problem. Yeah, sometimes you see in the movies, when police, the police arrest someone, they say, whatever you say, can be used against you. Be careful about what you say, etc. So in our daily life is also the same. Sometimes if I had spoken shortly, I had no problem. But because of 2 extra sentences, I offended someone, I hurt someone. So it's better not to talk too much, too long, so that you save your energy and you don't endanger yourself by maybe getting into problems and troubles. The third Aafaat or defect is al-khawd fi al-batil. to immerse into falsehood. This is more problem. So the first was to talk about what is not relevant to you. The second was to talk too much. The third is to talk in batil, about batil, things which have no basis in truth. 4. Aafatul mira'i wal mujadala, to debate and argue unnecessarily. Inshallah, you will see. Mira means to argue for the sake of proving that you are right. And sometimes you see that every party is just arguing, especially, you have to be careful between, for example, siblings, husband and wife, neighbors, colleagues. When you clarify what you mean once, twice, that's enough. If the other person doesn't accept, don't keep arguing and arguing, because the problems can get worse and worse. Mira is to be avoided. Shall we talk about it? So this is the 4th problem. The 5th, Aafatul khusuma. Sometimes we use our tongue for enmity. We use it as a weapon to harm and hurt and offend another person. 6. Another problem is that sometimes some people become too much interested in speaking eloquently, artificially, spending too much time and energy to put words in a poetic way and eloquent way. To be eloquent is good, but it shouldn't become artificial. It shouldn't become too much. 7. Aafatul fuhsh was-sab wa bidha' al-Lisaan, about being rude, using bad language, bad words. This is also something we discuss. 8. Aafatul la'n, imma li haywanin aw jamaatun, to curse. Cursing animals, cursing objects. Sometimes people curse, for example, the computer is not working, they curse. The car isn't, and they curse. Or they curse human beings. Cursing in general is not good. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ma bu'ithtu la'anan." Allah has not sent me to curse. Even he was not, cursing. And there are very exceptional cases that we should have permission and authorization, like those cases that Allah Himself has cursed, like tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. Or Allah says, "Inna alladhina yu'dhuna Allah wa rasulahu la'anahumullah." Those who annoy Allah and the Prophet, which of course has interpretation, because you cannot annoy Allah in the sense of harming Him, but means annoy the Prophet. Allah has cursed them. This is what inshallah we will discuss in future. But in general, you should avoid this language. Unfortunately, sometimes parents, when they get angry with the children, they curse them. This is very bad, because it can create more problems for the child, and then you also suffer. Yeah, at that time your child is making you angry, but in future, if a problem happens to your child, you are also going to suffer. The next is Aafatul ghina'i wa shi'r, about haram singing and bad kind of shi'r, poem. Poem is good, but sometimes poem is used to misguide people, to manipulate people. Inshallah, we will talk about it. The next one is the number 10, Aafatul mizah, to make jokes. Making jokes in order to make people happy is good, but you have to be very careful. If you make too much joke, people don't take you seriously. or if you make joke by ridiculing people or breaking their heart, it's not good. We should be careful. Therefore, the next one is about the problem with ridiculing people. Mizah and to ridicule are two different things. One way of making joke can be to ridicule, but there are other ways. We should not ridicule people. لا يسخر قوم من قوم. The Quran says in Surah Hujarat, no group of people should make mockery of others. The next one, آفة إفشاء السر. Another problem that can happen is to disclose secrets. Your secrets, sometimes you have to keep it. Or other people's secrets. Or secrets of our, for example, country or a company. Sometimes, there are secrets which are legitimate secrets. Not that, a criminal has some secrets. That's another issue. But secrets in general, sometimes we as a community have some secrets. There are things that if people of other faith know, may create problems because they don't understand, they don't have the background. Confidentiality is very important. The next one is Afatul Wa'dil Kadhib, to make promise but not honest promise. It's very bad. Even you should not promise a child something that you don't want to do. If you don't want to do it, don't promise, even to a child. Even to an animal. There is hadith that someone was showing grass to animal to move it towards himself, but was not giving to the animal. This is a kind of practical promise, but which this person is not keeping. The next problem is lying in a speech or in your vows. You say, Wallahi, I did this, and na'udhu billah. Even for true things, it's better not to use qasam, even if you have done it. Let alone, na'udhu billah, to swear by Allah or something, and it's lie. There will be a discussion here about those exceptional cases where telling lie might be permitted. Some people don't know this and misuse, and they say this was we say in Farsi durugh maslahati, like white lie, which means that they say this is permissible, but it's not something vague. It's very clearly defined in fiqh. You cannot, for your convenience, tell a lie and say, it was necessary. Or, for example, you want to make more money as a shopkeeper, tell lie. There are exceptional cases. For example, to save someone's life. Maybe you need to tell lie. Or, for example, if you want to reconcile. For example, sometimes two people don't speak to each other, their relation is broken or is damaged, and the only way to bring them together is to tell lies. Say that, he likes you, for example, you say to the wife that your husband loves you, if this is the only way, this is called islahu dhat al-bayn. To reconcile, it might be permissible. So we will talk about some of the cases where telling lie might be permitted. The next Aafaat 15th is Riba Backbiting. One of the problem that can happen is backbiting. What is Riba? Why people commit Riba? What are causes? And what is the treatment? Ilaj. How can we heal this problem, this illness that we commit Riba? And where riba can be permitted, there are some, again, exceptional cases that riba can be permitted. We have to know so that we don't do riba in other cases mistakenly. Yeah. For example, one case that ulama say, of course there are differences in the extent, is when you are mazloom. Quran says, لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء من القول إلا من ظلم. Allah doesn't want you to talk in a negative way about other people unless the one who is mazloom. So the one who is oppressed can mention that this person has done zulm to me. But some ulama say only to the people that can help you, like to the court, to the judge, not every person. Yeah, so some ulama restrict it only to the people that you can ask them to help you with this case. And some say no, it can be to others as well. So we have to check what is the opinion of your marja. 16. Aafatun namima. Namima means to gossip. So in this sense that I hear something from you and then I tell it to someone else. Yeah. For example, you were angry and you said something about your friend. I will go to that friend and say, she said this about you. This is namima. It's very bad. Even if you hear bad things, you should keep it to yourself and not share with the other person. They are breaking relations. 17. Aafatu al-Lisaan. There are people who have two tongues. What does it mean? It means that in front of you, they are very kind, they flatter you, they praise you. But when you are absent, they speak behind you in a bad way. This is another problem. Number 18. Aafatul madh. When you praise people, you have to be very careful, because flattering people in general is not a good thing, especially in their presence. Yes, there are some exceptional cases, like, for example, flattering your teacher. This is a case which is permitted. But in some cases, flattering can be bad and dangerous, because that person may feel that I am very special. They become proud, they become arrogant. Yeah, or sometimes you are lowering your own dignity. So there are lots of discussions here. We will talk about it, inshallah. Number 19. Number 19 is about ghafla and daqa'iq al-khata' fi fahw al-kalam. To be heedless about very subtle issues when you speak, especially when you talk about religious affairs. Yeah, when you are talking, for example, about aqaid, about akhlaq, about ahkam, you have to be very careful. When you are not trained, you think you know everything, but when you are trained, you see how difficult it is to speak. Yeah, those who have little knowledge, they can answer it quickly, but those who have more knowledge, more experience, they know that there are very subtle details that it's not easy, to give answer. You have to ask that person few questions, sometimes to clarify the case. Then you have to see which marja, he's following, etc. So we have to be careful about details and subtleties which are there, especially when it is about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about religion. And number 20 is about the questions that uneducated people or awam may ask about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about Quran, and sometimes they get into areas that are not possible for them to digest, to absorb. They become confused. So you have to ask for the sake of understanding, but you have also to measure your capacity. If I am just starting, for example, learning philosophy, I shouldn't, ask deep philosophical questions from my teacher because it needs preparation. So these are 20 problems that can happen through our tongue, and inshallah we will study all of them. Some of these can by themselves have different branches. So when we say, kalam fil batil, to talk about falsehood, it can be by itself leading to many things. Now, the first thing is merits of silence and dangers of tongue or speech. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is quoted as saying, Man samata naja. Man samata with sad. Man samata naja. Whoever is silent is saved. It means that most of dangers come when we speak. In another hadith, Rasulullah said, As-samtu hukmun wa qalilun fa'iluh. Silence is a matter of wisdom, and there are not many people who have this wisdom. Yeah? How many people you have seen that are very careful about their speech, and when they don't have something good to say or useful to say, they keep silent? Unfortunately, most of us, we talk about everything, and as long as we wish, we are not very careful about what we say. Ma'adh ibn Jabal says, I asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, An nu'akhadhu bima naqul. Are we going to be questioned about what we say? Are words going to make us responsible, or just if we do something with hand or leg, other things? So he asks, are we going to be questioned about what we say? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Yabna Jabal, because he was Ma'az ibn Jabal, وَهَلْ يُكِبُّ النَّاسِ عَلَى مَنَاخِرِهِمْ إِلَّا حَصَائِدُ أَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. Rasulullah said, is anything other than what people get through their tongue putting them into fire with their face? So it means not only we are responsible, actually most of our problems come from tongue. A cab, when you put someone with, if someone with face drops, or someone pushes someone to drop with face, this is a cab. So it means that most of the problems that can put us with face into the fire is because of tongue. There is a hadith that a person who was Bedouin, Arabi. Arabi is different from Arab. Arab means Arab, but Arabi means Bedouin. He went to the Prophet and said, Dullani ala amalin yudkhilni al-jannah. Please tell me an action that make me able to go to heaven. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, At'im al-ja'i', feed those who are hungry. وَاسْقِ الظَّمْآنَ, give water to those who are thirsty. وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَانْهَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, do amr ma'roof and nahy anil munkar, enjoin the good and prohibit the bad. فَإِن لَمْ تُطِقْ, according to this hadith, of course, this hadith is what Ghazali mentions from Sunan ibn Majah. It's very interesting. According to this hadith, Rasulullah said, if you are not able to feed or give water or do al-ma'roof, فَكُفَّ لِسَانَكَ إِلَّا مِنْ خَيْرٍ, at least stop your tongue to talk except for good things. This is the minimum you can do. You don't need to have money to do this. You don't need to have training. Yeah, at least do this. If you are not able to do any of those things, at least do this. Finally, for today, we finish with this hadith. Inshallah, next week, we will mention a beautiful passage from Misbah al-Sharia, which is attributed to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, about silence. Mullah Muhsin Faiz has added that. But the last hadith for today, which you find it in many books, is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ الْمُؤْمِنَ سَمُوتًا وَقُورًا, when you see a mu'min is silent, not that momentarily silent, means as a habit, he doesn't speak too much, and is waqur. Waqur comes from waqar. Waqar means dignity. So when you see a mu'min is reducing his talk and is very dignified, fadnu min, get close to that mu'min. فَإِنَّهُ يُلْقِ الْحِكْمَةِ, because such a person gives hikmah. Such a person, when he speaks, the words are words of wisdom. If someone is all the time talking, then the words are not like jewels. But if someone is very respectful person and respected, dignified, and speaks very little, then words of hikmah can come and be expected from him. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us with all aspects of our servitude, and in particular we request him to help us to have full control over our speech. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.